Hello. And hello, you amazing friends. I'm with Steph Gabriel today. How are you, Steph Gabriel?
I'm good. How are you, Ed?
Oh, good. I love how just before the live you said your brain is fried. And I said to you, I've been permanently fried for years. I'm always fried. I guess I just don't know what any other way is like, Steph.
Oh, I can't imagine being permanently fried, to be honest, Ed, but we'll get through it.
There you go. So I take it you've had meetings all day for days straight. That certainly fries me.
Yeah, there's been meetings and there's been calls with, calls on behalf of clients and stuff. So it's been a day where I've had to give a lot of energy. And I think that's when your brain
Yes.
gets a bit fried, when you've got to give that energy. So,
Well,
yeah.
there you go. Well, to you, Steph, and to our friends around the world, great having you with us. Like, share, comment. Now's the time to chill out while Steph and I talk about the ridiculous art and science of business networking. I just want to open up talking about Janine Lopez. Didn't she hit a home run yesterday in Manly?
She did, absolutely. It was a great turnout and it was a great meetup.
I know. She's following in your footsteps. You hit that 2 home runs now at West Ryde. And I just want to say, before we talk about your meetups and everything, tell us all about your experience yesterday at Janine Lopez's meetup and what did you learn and what did you see?
It was great. There were some familiar faces, which is always good to build that connection. And there were new faces as well that you're connecting with. But as we've talked about before, Ed, when you're hosting your own event, it's a very different dynamic to you
Yeah.
attending an event. So yeah, it's different. It's very different. So it's nice to be able to just attend as well as host. I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny actually because it doesn't really work. I try and go incognito, but the more I hide is the more I get discovered. But it's weird for me. It's weird for me going to a place and just standing there and doing nothing. It's just an unusual experience for me, but I kind of like it. I kind of like every now and then just flying under the radar. And it's funny actually. I love Janine Lopez's event. There were so many people I knew and so many people I didn't know. I was going to ask you, what are some of your tips for people who are going networking for the first time?
I think, Ed, you've just got to show up as yourself and be willing to have conversations with people. That's really it.
Mm.
Then I think, people will feel your type of energy. And if there is a connection there, you will, get on like a house on fire. So, and it doesn't always have to be about what do you do or, it doesn't have to be, business. I mean, the best way to build connection is really, to find surface level personal stuff that you can connect on first, and then it can just build from there. So it doesn't always have to be that first question of, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you. And that's always been my MO. Whenever I've gone business networking, I've always thought just make, even when I'm running the event, even when I'm the so called star of the show, I've always just been make friends, make friends. And I find this as well. I only talk business when people talk business. So I'll just be all friendly and light. If people want to talk business, I'll talk business, but I usually stay out of it or bring it up first. What do you think of that point?
Yeah, that's a great way to, again, build the relationship before you even talk business. Because if you can get someone to like you, it's a better starting point than going in cold and just asking, what do you do?
Exactly. I want to ask you as well. I mean, Janine Lopez kicked butt yesterday, and we've had two of your West Ride meetups, and they're massive now. Tell us all about. So, just for those around the world, West Ride is like a business suburb, like a business hub in the city of Sydney. It's sort of. Would you say West Ride is about what 12 kilometres inner west of Sydney CBD? Is that right?
Yep.
You would say
Yep.
about 12 kilometres.
Yep.
Yep.
About
It's
that.
like a business hub, right? Very, very businessy type of area. Tell us all about your massively successful business network and what has your journey been like? What have been all the trials and tribulations? You've already been kicked out of a venue.
Yeah.
We've already, yeah. So there you go. Tell us all about it. You've had one venue kick you out and tell you never to come back, and these other guys worship the ground you work on. Tell us the whole story.
Yeah, so the first venue we were at, it wasn't, as welcoming is probably a civilized way of putting it, and
I think they hated us. They just
they
hated it.
had
Like,
very strict restrictions on what we can and can't do, and it's
yeah,
like, well, if I'm bringing in about 30 people business, for you because people are purchasing lunch or beverages, then I just don't understand the logistics of how you can't accommodate where we are now in West Ryde Hotel. They're willing to roll out the red carpet for us, and that's the sort of experience you want when you're trying to run a networking event. Because the last thing you need is someone telling you what you can and can't do when you're trying to run a business event.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I find that batty. I've told quite a few people our funny story, right? And they just laugh at us, right? And I
Hmm.
remember it's the first place we went to. It wasn't Eden on the Gardens, and they were really, really. It was just bizarre in that we were bringing them money, but they just had all. It was like we're bringing them money, but they were behaving like they were doing us a favor that they didn't want to do. And when we went to West Ryde Hotel, it's sort of like it's like going to the Virgin Business Lounge. You can't get. They're awesome. It's like I love these guys.
Yeah,
And
and they're totally understanding as well, because when you've
yeah,
got a free event, Ed, like, because our event's free,
yeah,
you can't guarantee numbers, and that's
yeah,
the other thing, right?
yeah,
You can have 70 people RSVP, but 30 can show up because it's a free
yeah.
event. And I mean, I thought that was logical, but clearly, it's not logical to every venue.
Well,
So,
as the old saying goes, how can one be logical with illogical people?
well, that's it. There we go.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, no, I gotta say, I love what you did. You're doing it at West Ryde Hotel. We had about what 35 people, whatever, last time, right? Which is awesome.
Yep.
And everyone loved it and they kept mingling. And what have been some of your lessons? I'll ask you a different question. There's going to be people watching who are interested in starting their own meetups, be it networking meetups or social meetups or whatever.
Mhm.
What's your bit of advice for anyone who wants to start their own events, be it social, business, whatever? What are your top tips from what you've learned?
I think find a good venue that is going to
Yeah.
accommodate for your needs. And I think that's the first thing, because without the
Mm.
venue, it's hard, because when you're
Yeah.
running an event, you've got to be in that mindset of, making sure people are coming in, people are feeling welcomed, people know where everything is, and that, they feel at home. So the venue is, I think, one of the most crucial parts to running a networking event, Ed.
Yeah.
And then I think, just telling people and talking about it and putting it on socials, and asking your friends and family to pass on the message, because there's always someone out there that is looking for whatever you are wanting to host. We might not think that, but there is a lot of people, in this world. So, share the message, spread the word, follow up with people. One thing I didn't get a chance to do at my last meetup, Ed, was follow up some of the people that came to the first one. So I'll be following them up for the next event.
Yeah.
So, follow up's really important, and just keeping the communication lines open as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. I think it's great because the thing I found with events is when you start running events, and this varies for a lot of people. Some people get leads right away, but I found in my own experience when you start running an event, the first few times nothing happened. Well, in terms of business and leads, but after a few months, that's when the leads and businesses started coming in. I was going to say, have you had any leads yet, or any? I know you've had a lot of interest. I know people are talking about you. But I know it's still early, but have you had any leads yet, or people start looking at you sideways saying, how does your services work and that sort of thing?
Not at this point, Ed, but I do know a lot of people watching, and I know the word spread to Melbourne because someone at your meetup on Friday said what an amazing event I hosted. They were speaking to someone that came to my event, and they said that I hosted a great event. So I said to that person that, if you come up the same week, because it's the same week as your event, it's a couple of days earlier, you can attend mine and Ed's event. So I'll take that as a compliment that, it's reaching interstate. So that's probably a good starting point.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't mention the name, but on a funny note, I won't say that they're your nemesis, but they're one of your previous nemesises who disappeared. They try to. I think they saw your meetup. and how successful it was, and they try to book into our meetup. But because she's a nemesis of Steph, she's not coming to our meetup. So I thought that was a funny pick as well. So there you go. I find it amazing. I think you've achieved so much amazing, Steph. And where to from here with your meetups? I know you got the next one out. What are some of your thinkings, and what are you plotting with your future work and all that?
It's just keep building, building on the foundation blocks. And I always say networking is one of your foundations in business. It's so
Mm,
important to build those
yeah,
connections, because it might not be that person directly. It could be people that they
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I have a few things in the works. I do have another service that will be coming out,
Ooh.
in the coming months as well. So there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes. I'm just not talking about it just yet.
Ah, there we go. Well, I got to say, I know I won't say it, of course, but I know some of the secret squirrel things that Steph are up to, and it's very, very, very enticing. And yeah, I got to say, I love where you're going, and I'm pumped for your next meetup. And while I've got you too, I want to ask you as well. Just want to do a quick segue on pitching. I get asked this all the time, Ed. I'm like, for example, tomorrow. I'm flying to Melbourne to run our Pullman on the Park meetup. And I've got a lot of people
Mhm.
saying, Ed, it's my first meetup. How do I pitch and sell myself? Now, I've got my own thoughts on this one, but I just want to do a quick segue on pitching. For someone who's brand new to networking, how should they pitch and present themselves? What's the best way of going about that, Steph?
I think dress how you want to be remembered. Like, for
Yeah,
example, if you're in the health industry, if you're coming sporty, people are going to remember that, because that is a
yeah,
visual cue. So that's one
yeah,
thing that I think is quite important. Another one is, it takes practice and it takes time, right? Like, no one can
mm,
perfect their pitch straight away. But the more
yeah,
you throw yourself out there and attend these networking events, the better you will get at it. So I think it's really important to keep practicing, keep attending, and we've all been there, right, Ed, where it's been
yeah,
our first, and we're like, so this is what I do, but you know what I mean? So no one starts out, knowing exactly how they're going to pitch and all that sort of thing. So sometimes just being honest, saying this is my first networking event, and if you can imagine how daunting it was for your first networking event, that's probably
oh
how
yeah.
is for me right now. But people appreciate that honesty as well, Ed, instead of trying to hide it.
Yeah, no, I think you're very in the zone, and I love your work. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I remember when I watched Steph, Steph. The reason I always get Steph and Janine mixed up is you guys have a very similar voice. So there you go. So when you speak to Steph and
Do we?
Janine on the phone, you got a similar accent, and your cadence is identical. So you got a very similar accent. So I always get your voices wide. But when I saw Janine yesterday, she went from totally nervous and freaked out to euphoric when she got her win in. And I know what you mean. When you first, I've probably forgotten that feeling. It's been too long for me. But when you start running your own events, man, it's stressful at the start. How did you get yourself over the original, oh my God, type of feeling?
I think just being in it and in the thick
Yeah.
of it, and having a few people, like yourself, Ed, that were there to support you, I think really helps when you're running an event, because you're not doing it all on your own. And it just feels like that support is really important,
Mm,
especially when it's your first.
mm,
However, you do find your groove with it, and as long as you've prepared somewhat beforehand, you know how it's going to run. It's going to go really quickly, because time flies when you're having fun,
yeah.
and you'll get that feedback as well from other people. So it's just really about being organized and running it the way you want to run it.
Oh, love it. And I like how you said before the way you dress, because yeah, I go the full sporty look. So I know I'm wearing red today, only because you are. I usually wear my purple Lacoste top. I wear
Mhm.
my Under Armour shorts, my Asics runners, and it feels good. I find you gotta dress for your brand. That's what I find is very important. Whatever your brand is, you got to dress exactly for your brand. And I've chosen like the upmarket leisure wear sports direction. It's been fantastic. What's your sort of dressing style? What sort of style do you tend to go for when you dress?
Um, I think business casual,
Yeah.
but with a flair, right? Because I like to think I have some
Um,
sort of fashion sense, and yeah, I love my shoes and all that sort of thing. So I don't know if it comes across that way to people, but that is what I think my brand is when
Yeah,
I dress.
I think in my mind I'm dressing up like a sports star, but when people see me, I look like an unhinged lunatic. So that's probably more what it is. So there we go.
It's funny how we think something about ourselves, Ed, and then people can completely perceive something different, you know, when they
Exactly. But there we go. I am Team Lacoste, so at least I've got a brand on me. So at least I can point to that. So if someone's going to criticize the way I dress, I can use the at least I'm wearing a Lacoste defense.
absolutely,
There we
absolutely.
go. No, but Steph, thank you so much. Thank you for the great work and support that you give for us. And yeah, tell us while we've got everyone here, especially for the Sydney gang, tell us a bit about your next meetup. When's it on? Where is it? And how do people book in and all that stuff?
Yeah. So the next one is on Wednesday, the 5th of June at 11:30 a.m. at West Ryde Hotel. I did do a post this week and I've created an event on LinkedIn with the details just on Monday, but it is on Meetup as well. And if anyone can't find it for whatever reason, feel free to private message me and I can send you the link if you'd like to join us.
Oh, pleasure. And thanks again. And just finishing up as well, didn't Janine Lopez hit it out of the park yesterday with a Manly meetup?
She did. She did amazing. And, I think it's great that, we we kind of gave her the push, because anything's daunting when you first do something, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think m- having done it first, I think it was easier to say, look, it is going to be daunting, but you're going to be great. You've got the support you need. You'll knock it out of the
Yeah.
park. And that's what she did. She knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, as I used you when Janine felt, oh my God, I used Steph as the example. Well, look at Steph's meetup. I'm sure you'll do the same thing. So there you go.
Exactly.
It was really good. So you paved the way on this one, Steph. You're the trailblazer on this one.
Oh, thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure. But thanks again, Steph. Thank you to all our fans for watching us across the world. We really appreciate you. Steph, before we finish up, give us a closing thought and we'll finish up the live stream on that one.
Practice your pitching no matter where you go, who you
Yes.
speak to. Just think about it and always have it front of mind because you don't know when you might be thrown in the zone of, what do you do or how do you do it sort of thing. So keep practicing and it will get better and it does take time. That's it, Ed.
We love you, Steph. Steph, thank you so much. Love your work all. Like, sharing, comment, and happy Thursday, everyone. Love your work all. Bye.
See you
Love your
later.
work all.